Good morning, everyone. Hello. What is today? Thursday. Happy
Thursday.
Thursday. I am Steph Lee, founder of Host Agency Reviews. Thank you so much for tuning in for today's webinar. Whether you're listening live or you are listening to the recorded version, we're happy to have you here. And with me today, we have Vanessa McGovern with Gifted Travel Network. Hello, Vanessa.
Hi, Steph. It's such a pleasure to be here with you. Hello, everyone.
Yes, absolutely. So, oops. Okay, sorry. I was just telling Vanessa before we went on, we're having a really bad thunderstorm here. So, um, let's see. So, for those of you that are tuned in, we have an exciting presentation for you today. If you have questions during this, it's broken into 3 chunks. And so we'll stop after each of them to see if there's any audience questions that are out there. So, as you're watching, if you have questions, type them in to the comments. We'll be monitoring those and get to them at the end of each segment. And then I am really excited to get my learning on how to transition to selling luxury travel. So I'm not going to take away any more. I'm going to pass it over to Vanessa. Here we go, Vanessa.
Thank you, Steph. It's such a pleasure to be here with all of you. As Steph said, I've got this presentation sort of compartmentalized into 3 sections, so I will stop to take questions, but I also want to hear your thoughts, even if you don't have a question, even as I'm talking and sharing different things about this topic of how to transition to selling luxury travel. I really want to know what is coming up for you. And maybe you have an aha, that would be the best case scenario, right? When I'm presenting, and maybe you just kind of have a bit of a heightened awareness on something. So feel free to drop your comments, not just your questions as well, in the chat. And I look forward to hearing from you throughout the presentation. And if you're watching the recording, of course, you're welcome to reach out afterwards as well. We can keep the conversation going. So always a pleasure to participate in our presentation. So thanks again, Steph, for having me. So let's dig in. So elevate your travel business, how to transition to selling luxury travel. So how we're going to break this out is in 3 steps. So the first step is we're going to talk about how to identify your ideal luxury client, or just identifying your ideal luxury client. The next step, step 2, will be a discussion around how to build a magnetic presence, because it's one thing to have an awareness of who your ideal luxury client is, but it is quite another in terms of how you are positioning yourself from a brand perspective, how you're propelling yourself into public consciousness, and does it match? Is it aligned with the ideal client? So we need to talk about that as part of this conversation. And then we're going to have a discussion on aligning with the right partners. So now you have an awareness of who your ideal luxury client is. You've got a great brand to match it, and it is lined up with that segment. And then the third piece is really about the partners, boots on the ground, in destination partners or consortium partners, host partners that can help you deliver and fulfill on the brand promise of the luxury experience. So that's how we're going to break it down. So step 1, identify your ideal luxury client. So what types of travel experiences are we talking about? But first of all, it's really important to level set the following. Luxury is personal, and we all define luxury just a little bit differently. And it is something that we all look through a different lens of with travel. I mean, travel is personal, but when it comes to luxury, you have to know that what your version of luxury might be today might be different in a couple of years from now. Or what I thought of luxury when I first started on my journey with Gifted Travel Network 10 years ago is different than what I thought it was 10 years ago. I mean, it changes, it evolves, right? And that's okay. You don't have to stay stuck on what your definition of luxury is today. You can change, you can evolve. And what's most important is to meet your clients where they are as well, and where your ideal clients are too. You need to understand that their definition of luxury is also different. And you just have to decide what kind of clients you want to work with, the kinds of services you want to be aligned with, the types of services you want to be providing, the type of transaction sizes you want to work with. Because what is really important for you to understand in this segment is that it is a massive segment and there is plenty of opportunity for everybody in all the different segments. And so, what I mean by segments are the following. What I'm talking about with luxury is the premium segment. I'm also talking about upper premium. I'm talking about luxury. We're also talking about ultra luxe. And so it's not just one thing to say transition to luxury. Luxury is also, for some luxury is the premium segment, and I'll give an example of a travel experience that falls into that. I'll do one for each of these segments. And then upper premium, luxury, and ultra luxe. This is all luxury, but again, depending on your client, depending on you, depending on your travel experiences or partners that you align with, you might have a different, you might think luxury is only ultra luxe, but for some it's premium. And nothing is wrong, right? There's no wrong answer here. It's not an either or type situation. It's just the lens in which you and your clients and your potential clients are looking through. And it's just important that you stay neutral about it. There's no like sort of judgment or personal opinions on it. It's just a lens. And if you come up with, if you are, if you have that mindset, I think it'll help you to make good business decisions as to how to market yourself and who you want to be of service to and how many clients you take on in any given month as well, so that you can just be able to make good decisions on how to run your business in this space. So these are 4 categories to keep in mind with luxury. They're all very different. I'm going to give examples of all 4, just one brand per example. But actually, Steph, I'd love to hear if there's others in the chat. Well, I give an example for each, have their own examples for this segment. So I think hopefully we can all agree, Royal Caribbean is in the premium space. Now, Royal Caribbean, interestingly, especially with the Icon of the Seas, definitely in the upper premium space and in the luxury space, having just sailed on the Icon of the Seas. They have the ultimate family suite, the 2-bedroom, or excuse me, the 2 levels, not it's 2 bedrooms, 2 levels. That suite is selling for $140,000 a week. And what I was told when I was on the inaugural was that that stateroom is sold out for the rest of the year. So that is in the luxury space, but the general brand is premium. So this is an interesting product for you to consider when you're transitioning to luxury, because you can sort of move your clients up along the spectrum of luxury. Maybe they start with a balcony, they can move up to a suite. Maybe that client ends up doing a big life milestone trip and they take the ultimate family suite. You don't know, but they know the brand. They trust Royal Caribbean. They're familiar with it. Everybody makes the most incredible memories on this brand, and they can move along the spectrum in their trip experiences, even within this one brand. But as a brand in general, that's where Royal Caribbean fits. But it is an interesting one to think about, and it helps you in terms of transitioning because you can transition your clients within this brand. Steph, does that make sense?
Totally
Any
does. Yep.
questions so far?
No
Okay.
questions. Lots of people from all over, though.
Awesome. All right. Perfect. Thanks for joining again. All right. So then we've got the ultra premium. Oceania puts themselves in this category. And for those of you that have been selling travel for a period of time, you know that it can be a good transition for your clients that have been in the premium space, but in the suites in the upper category, to potentially then recommend them to an experience like an Oceania that's more smaller, that's all suite, culinary focus, going deeper into the destination. So that's a way to transition your client into the next stage of luxury after premium, which can be ultra premium. So that's sort of the next step. And this is an example of a brand. There's, of course, other brands that fall into this category. This is one example. And then when we're talking luxury, here's an example of a brand that is firmly parked in the luxury space. Four Seasons is luxury. There is nothing premium or upper premium about Four Seasons. They are firmly swimming, marinating in luxury. In fact, they go up to ultra luxe, because Four Seasons also, and within Four Seasons properties, you'll find suites and residences that definitely are in the ultra luxe space. And did you know that Four Seasons offers a round the world jet experience, which is definitely an ultra luxe experience? In fact, the example that I have for ultra luxe, if you have not heard of TCS World Travel, this is actually the company that Four Seasons uses for their around the world jet, and they are firmly parked in the ultra luxe space. So if you want to research a brand, get familiar with what an ultra luxe brand is because you are transitioning your business into that space. TCS World Travel is an excellent example of a brand that is just in that space. Again, there's nothing even, just in the luxury category about it. This is ultra luxe. And if you want some travel inspiration, go on their website and look at their itineraries because truly it's really amazing. This picture of the business class seat that the guests are in when they're going around the world is just a very sliver of an example, but they are literally going around the world in a private jet for about 30 days to the most incredible destinations, staying at properties like Four Seasons and even above 5-star experiences. So those are the categories of luxury. Now let's talk about what that means in terms of the ideal client, because we're talking about what it is and who the clients are, right? We want to identify who the luxury clients are. So we're talking about household incomes when we're talking luxury that really are in the 250K annual plus. Now, I find this interesting because research shows that travelers earning about 100K in a household income exhibit the same behaviors and expectations of clients that are in the 250K annual income and are taking a much different trip or potentially the same. And why this is important, why I'm sharing this particular statistic and this information is the following. You are travel advisors. Of course, you don't need me to tell you that, but you are service providers. And at the end of the day, you are trading time for dollars. So as business owners, as service providers, you have to think about the amount of hours that you put into any given trip and benchmark that against the actual compensation you are earning for said trip. And what this statistic and research is telling us is that the same amount of expectations by your clients have the same expectations of $100,000 trip than they do of $100,000 annual income for their trip experience. So maybe they're taking, I don't know, a $25,000 trip as the client with the $250,000 annual income does. But the client with the $250,000 income will be able to stretch their budget further. And that means you're earning more on that trip. But it's important because you're putting the same amount of time into that booking. And it could be a very similar booking, but just a larger transaction size. It could be the difference of staying at a 4-star versus a 5-star. It could be the difference between private tours, first class tickets, but you're earning more on that trip. So it's really important to remind yourselves that you are service providers trading time for dollars. And if your clients in the $100,000 household income are expecting the same amount of delivery of service as a client in the $250,000 income, you have to ask yourself how many of the clients in the $100,000 income are you willing to take? Because there's only so many hours in the day. So these are the types of clients that we're talking about. All right, so before we move on to a magnetic presence, and now that we understand a little bit more about the types of brands we're talking about and who the clients are and household spend, I'll stop for just a moment here, Steph, and see if you have any questions in the chat for me or if you have a question for me.
No questions right now. We are ready to move on, Vanessa. But people are loving the examples that you gave for each area. So
all right, perfect. So I will continue on. So step 2, now that we know the luxury client, a little bit more intel on that, now it's time to really do a little soul searching and ask yourself if your brand is aligned with luxury. And this is oftentimes not an easy conversation for us to have with travel advisors that come to us for coaching or within Gifted Travel Network, or those that are considering Gifted Travel Network and in the conversation of whether or not GTN is the right fit. We often look at websites, we look at copy, we look at logos, and we have open conversations around, if you're going to move to Gifted Travel Network, as an example, if we're going to host you and you're going to work on, transitioning into luxury, and you're going to be working with luxury clients, with luxury partners, a lot of times when we see people transitioning to us, they end up embarking on a total rebrand and retooling their brand, because what they had serves the mass market premium space versus speaking to the luxury space. And that is a normal thing we see in the progression of travel advisors transitioning to luxury. A lot of times you start your journey as a travel advisor because you heard that this was a wonderful opportunity. You're doing it. You're booking booking trips for family and friends in your own network, and it's all good. And you kind of put a website together because it's a thing, right? But then you realize a couple years in that this is a viable business model. You're making money. This is your livelihood, and you want to increase your transaction sizes, and you want to attract clients outside of your own organic network, and you want to be able to align your brand to match the level of trip transactions that you seek to have in your business. And that, if you are at that stage, then it is time to do a rebrand. And if you are not at that stage, but you want to get to that stage, then it is really time to think about, how do you progress into that? So we're going to talk about building a magnetic presence. And the very first step to brand building and ensuring that you are showing up in a way that your ideal client gets you, that they see your website, they see your logo, they see your social media, they see what you're saying, and they see themselves in there. It starts with good copy. And this is something that is oftentimes, Steph, this is, I think I talked about it on a previous HAR presentation. Like, this is the piece in brand building that almost everybody that comes to us to work with us for the first time misses, because we're so quick to go to a graphic designer and say, I'm a travel advisor, help me with a logo. I'm going to work with a website, but that's kind of templated, and that's fine. But when you are building a magnetic brand in the luxury space, you have to be able to speak to those ideal luxury clients, which means it has to start with good copy, because a graphic designer or a website designer, they cannot bring your brand to life if they don't know the words and the language and the vernacular that is associated with how you are delivering your services and how you are showing up in the world. And I don't just mean, fancy big words and just a different type of way to say it. I mean like meaningful, soulful connections, because luxury is personal, and you are a service provider, and you're not just any other travel advisor. You want to be able to tell your story in a meaningful way that allows your prospects and future clients and your ideal luxury clients to know that they can trust you, that they're in good hands, that you have all the right access, that you have all the right partners to be able to fulfill on that brand promise. And if it is cookie cutter language, if it is language that you DIY'd, it could fall flat. And if you don't have good copy and you take it to the graphic designer or website, what's going to happen, what's worse, is that your visual representation of you, of your website, of your business cards, of your logo is also going to fall flat, or it's going to look generic. And by generic, I mean, this is why we have a preponderance of like airplanes and globes and like Eiffel Towers in a whole bunch of travel advisor logos. And I apologize if that's somebody listening right now, because graphic designers just default to that because that's sort of like travel, right? But they don't know what else to do because the copy that they've been given isn't at the heart of the matter. So it starts right here. And I'm going to give you some examples of good copy. And when you have good copy, everything else flows. So if there's one big takeaway from how to transition to luxury, is to work with a good copywriter. And that's where it starts. And then everything else can flow from there. Does that make sense, Steph? I'm wondering if I have any questions
It
at this page, at
it
this stage.
totally d it totally we do have one,
Okay.
and it's from Brenda, and she's asking, "What would you say are the top 3 ways to attract, connect with luxury clients if you live in a small rural town or even a big city?" I always use the third party approach and ask, "Who do you know?"
Mm-hmm. That is definitely a great question. Thank you for asking a client attraction question, which I love. It starts with first having confidence in your own brand and making sure that when you do, because there's no shortage of ideas to put yourself in front of luxe and ultra luxe clients. But what happens when you find them, if they go to your website, which is what we're going to talk about right now, and then I can give some additional ideas specifically on how to get in front of luxe and ultra luxe clients. If you find them and then they come to your website and they don't identify with you, then you'll lose them. So before you go out and attract these clients, that there's no, like, it's raining luxury right now because that segment is the fastest growing segment right now, and it's not slowing down, and it's not, then there's so much business for everybody. There's, quite frankly, not enough travel advisors out there to serve the luxury and ultra luxe segment. So there's just so much business out there. But the clients don't know you exist. So if they do know that you exist and they come to make sure that you are who you say you are, and then they're going to want to identify with your brand, this is where it starts. So here's an example of a travel advisor who was a graduate of our travel MBA program. That's our new to industry program, Jennifer Goff of Salt and Sky Travel Designs. So look at this copy, or listen to this copy, right? You don't need a vacation. You need a bond building, magic making adventure. Like, that's good copy. At Salt and Sky Travel Designs, we create that for you. Our custom crafted immersive itineraries take our families far beyond the ordinary on tailored escapes that expand their minds, broaden their horizons, and open their hearts. This is adventure defined by you, whether that means tackling whitewater rapids, tracking cheetahs across the Serengeti, or getting your kids to try a unique local delicacy, a victory for picky eaters everywhere. Your trip will challenge and inspire you in amazing ways. If I'm making a decision for my next family trip experience and I'm reading this, I am drawn in. Like, yes, she is speaking my language. I want to know more. And that is the difference between generic copy and copy that is done with a good copywriter. So hopefully that copy provided some inspiration. Here's another example of a great brand that we love that transitioned to luxury. So the Travel Boutique is also a great example, because this travel advisor, Bryant Wood, was totally new, less than a year into the industry, and her very first booking out of the gate was a very large Ritz-Carlton yacht booking, and she was a new advisor. And I share this with you because advisors are getting this booking, even new advisors. And there are advisors, I'm pretty confident right now, Steph, that are listening to this presentation that have been selling travel for a long time that haven't had a Ritz-Carlton booking. And if that is you, I want you to hear me when I say they're there for you. You just have to align yourself from a brand perspective with that client, put yourself in those spaces, and then have the brand to back it up. And that is when the confluence of factors is when the magic happens. It's not just one thing that you're going to do to transition yourself. It's a confluence of factors, and having the right brand, speaking to the right people, matters deeply in your transition to selling luxury travel. So I wanted to share that story of the Travel Boutique. And then this story is the one that I really want to highlight, which is from King Travel Designs, from Dina King. So another great example of great copy. I won't read this one. I know it's really small, but you can certainly go to her website and read that. So go ahead, take a screenshot or go to her website. So King Travel Designs, here's the story I want to share with you. And this is why it matters in working with a good copywriter and also the transition to luxury. So the logo and the image that you see on the left from March of 2022, because that's shortly after she joined, was the very first sort of quote logo slash visual representation of her brand that she did it on by herself, because she wanted to sort of DIY it. She wanted to save money. She didn't want to hire a professional, which she recognizes now was not the right way to handle it if she wanted to basically work with luxury clients that value service providers. Then she herself needed to invest also. So she did it herself, and she had the map. Okay, fine. Then she decided she would go out to Fiverr or some service that was relatively inexpensive to actually do her next logo, which was a really funny story, because This is what happens when you don't have really good copy. So she told the designer that she wanted a splash of pink. Look at that stuff. She literally got a splash of pink. That was the literal definition. And so she didn't provide the website copy that you see on the website today. If you go and when you go and check it out, it wasn't like that before. And so the designer didn't have anything to go on. So when you don't have good copy, the designer is literally just going to take it literally and bring it to life. So that was a big lesson for her. So she spent the money on that. She realized it wasn't working. And then she spent the money on a copywriter and worked with a different graphic designer that it worked together. And that's when she landed on King Travel Design. And I think you can see with the progression that it is a much different result when she worked with a professional in that space and focused on good copy. Here are 6 brands we love from our Travel MBA program. Maybe you take a screenshot of it and go visit them after this presentation just for your own inspiration. So I just wanted to put that out there because these are advisors that are consistently in the ultra luxe space. And this is how their brands, this is how they're propelling themselves out there. So it's always good to have some examples of what others are doing. So that's the intention here. And all right, so that concludes the second part. So having a good brand presence, I think I gave some really great examples for that. So now I want to move into step 3, but before I do, I want to go back to that and the other question about the attracting luxury clients, but I also want to ask you, Steph, if we have any
We do have
other
some more.
questions.
So,
Okay, go for it.
all right. Let's see. We have sorry, just looking for it. Here we go. My brand is looking to bring luxury to the everyday person. Is there a market for that in the industry?
Luxury to the everyday person. That's a bit of a loaded statement because it's very subjective. So I would ask you to more clearly define what you mean about the everyday person, because that, again, is subjective. And then I would encourage you to ask a different question, which is, how do you want to be of service in your travel business? And what is the goal of your travel business monetarily, as well as, just how you want to show up and give back, right? It's not just about your total compensation, but that's obviously very important because you hopefully are a for-profit company. And so if you are a for-profit company, which I'm sure everybody on the call is, then you do need to start with your numbers and ask yourself, what are you looking to financially achieve out of your business? And then reverse engineer that based on the commissions of the transaction sizes you are currently doing, and ask yourself, is that even doable to do the amount of transaction sizes you do for the compensation you're getting to be able to get to that end goal? Like, that is a totally different presentation than what we're talking about right now. But in a nutshell, the question you need to be asking yourself first is what is your business model? And then what does it mean to be luxury for your clients when you say everyday luxury? Because that, again, that's subjective. So hopefully I know I didn't answer that directly, but hopefully I gave a little bit more context to be more thought-provoking around the things you need to be considering with that question.
2 more questions. So we've got, what are some tips for hiring a good copywriter? So let's start with that one.
Okay. Great question. Tips for hiring a good copywriter. I would start with referrals. I would put it out there in your own network of other businesses in this space, even within your community. There might be a great copywriter that you're networking with, that maybe there's a digital agency in your area that has a copywriter. You might want to also ask other travel advisors. There are copywriters in the travel space. I'm hesitant to give the name of the one that we work with because I know she is overbooked right now. And I will tell you, it's Emily Matris, and she's amazing, of Bon Vivant Copy. I do believe that she has a wait list at the moment, but I know that there are others. So when you go on other websites of other businesses that I would ask them, who did you hire for your copy? And then when you do find a list of people that you potentially want to hire and work with, interview them, see their work, and make sure that you don't just pick the first one, and you do talk to a few others. Hopefully that
Mhm.
helps.
Yep, and another question, what's the approximate cost of working with a good copywriter?
It does range because it depends on the scope of work. For if it just a sort of you need to enhance the copy that you have, it could be between 500 and 1,000. It could be more comprehensive though, because you need a complete rebrand and you have to do copy for your website. So, and it also could be geographically based. So I'm hesitant to give a specific answer to that because depends on where your copywriter lives. I know that we've seen some travel advisors have really good luck with outsourcing this to virtual assistant type companies overseas. There's some incredible talent there if you want to work in that direction. So that might make it more cost effective. So I think it really comes down to asking others that have gone through this process in your same space to get a ballpark, but it also really depends on the scope.
Mhm, exactly. Perfect, and I think that's all we've got for now.
Okay, perfect. So let's talk about aligning with the right partners. So that's a really big part of your journey to transition to selling luxury travel. I mean, you got to ask yourself if the partners that you have a relationship with, are they in the mass market space? Are they in the premium space? Or are they in the luxe and ultra luxe space? And if the answer is, I think I have a lot of premium mass market partners that are in like the, ten to $15,000 transaction type trip range, then it's time to, and you need to be getting into the 25,000, 30, $50,000 trip transaction range. Are your partners aligned with that transaction? And are they going to be able to deliver the level of service, or do they have the destination specific knowledge currently that your luxury clients are looking for so that you can deliver on that brand promise of the luxury experience? So this is just a fun slide to start us off with. Aligning with the right partners means a variety of different things. At the heart of it, it really means your destination management companies, your cruise partners, your wholesale partners, your partners across the globe that again are helping you bring these trip experiences to life for your luxury clients. And we actually have a FAM going on right now, which is why I slid this in with one of our preferred partners at Gifted Travel Network, Essence of Italy. And these are some smiling faces of GTN members that are literally in Italy right now. I think this photo was taken yesterday on a GTN exclusive FAM trip with this partner. So making sure that you're aligning with the right partner. It starts with your consortia partner. It's no secret, if you follow Gifted Travel Network, you've been on our HAR site, you know that we belong to Virtuoso. Virtuoso is the leader in luxury consortia. There's just no two ways about it. We were affiliated with two other consortia previously. They were a really good fit for us for the type of business that we were at that time, but we were transitioning to luxury. Our advisors were transitioning to luxury. Full transparency, before we became Virtuoso, we had travel advisors that were moving into the luxury space faster than we could support them in the luxury space. And we had travel advisors leave GTN to join a Virtuoso agency because we weren't positioned to be able to support them. And that was really a big eye-opening experience for us in 2018. And so we took our own journey back then to decide who we needed to align with. And the clear front runner really was Virtuoso. And it's been a total game changer for us and has completely set us on the luxury and ultra luxe trajectory. The level of access and partnerships in destination management companies and in hotels globally, the doors that open, it's just immeasurable. So if you are transitioning to luxury and you want to be parked in that luxe and ultra luxe space, you also need to ask yourself if you're aligned with the right. And it's not the right, that's the wrong word, because there's no right and there's no wrong. You just need to ask yourself if you're aligned with partners that can support the delivery of the luxury and ultra luxe space. One of the really cool features about Virtuoso that I wanted to slide in is that if you belong to a Virtuoso agency, you get a profile through virtuoso.com. This is an example of one of our members that actually received a 6-figure lead for an Amman booking. So Virtuoso does some lead gen work that our advisors have been on the receiving end of leads for really amazing bookings like the one that I just described. Transitioning to luxury also means working directly with hotels. This was something that I personally was learned and my eyes were opened to. Becoming part of Virtuoso really illuminated the importance of hotel elite programs and booking luxury and ultra luxe hotels direct and belonging to their hotel elite programs. Before, we had travel advisors that were selling Belmont, they were selling Ritz-Carlton, they were selling Rosewood, but it was all living within wholesale partner bookings. Like, there's all kinds of wholesale partners, like Classic, Pleasant. Those are just two of them. And they are preferred with Gifted Travel Network, and we have great relationships with them. But when it comes to luxe and ultra luxe bookings with these partners specifically that you're seeing on the screen, booking them direct is going to pretty much secure the highest level of service possible for your guests. Because when you're booking it through a wholesaler, at the end of the day, the wholesaler owns that booking. When you're booking it direct, you control that booking. It is your booking, which means they can upgrade faster. They can offer more amenities through direct booking because there isn't a third party involved. Again, something that was very illuminated to me when I first started my journey of luxury. And as we continue to grow in the luxury space and I see our travel advisors lean more into our hotel elite programs, you see the big difference in when bookings are made direct. Here's Heather Parker. She's one of our top producers. And just as some examples, I don't want to, in the effort of time, I'm just taking a look here. I want to get through a few other things, but these are just some testimonials that she shared with the different preferred partner programs of how it benefited her clients specifically to use the Hotel Elite program when she booked direct. So there's some great examples here across the board for the various programs. Here's one from Katie Crago on her transition to luxury. I'm going to share some transaction size information. This is an example of that. So like not specifically the hotel bookings direct, but an example of luxury. So here's her story. So last year, my dear clients traveled to the United Kingdom for motorcycle races on the Isle of Man, some sightseeing. They had married in 2020. In the most romantic gesture, my client's husband reached out to me separately to inquire about the potential of renewing their vows on their trip. I knew immediately who could make something amazing happen. It was Nick Butler, Nicola at Noteworthy. This is a Virtuoso DMC, destination management company. Nicola worked her magic, and my clients were able to have a blessing by the priest at the stunning St. Patrick's Cathedral in Dublin. It was everything my clients had imagined, and I could not have been more grateful to Noteworthy and the connections for making such an occasion possible. So this is an example of working with partners like Noteworthy that have these kinds of relationships that can make these types of special experiences come to life. Because I said at the beginning, luxury is personal. This was a very personal thing to that specific client that made all the difference in the world for the booking. The travel advisor on their own couldn't, most likely, I would 99% certain, couldn't have done that on their own. They don't have the boots on the ground contacts to be able to have a blessing by a priest at St. Patrick's Cathedral in Dublin. You need a strong destination management company to bring that vision to life. And they can bring that vision to life when you lean into the fact that as a luxury focused travel advisor, your expertise is actually the client and knowing the nuances and everything there is to know about that client and what they want out of their trip experiences. And then you let the destination management companies do their magic with the information that you are providing for them. Yes, of course, you become a destination expert. It just happens organically along the way. You attend FAMs, you attend trips, you attend conferences. But at the heart of it, as you transition to luxury travel, know that your expertise is actually in the client. Here's another story from Keely Culpepper. GTN's affiliation with Virtuoso is what really launched my luxury travel segment. Virtuoso sells itself. I know when I offer a Virtuoso property, my clients will be taken care of. If I reach out to Virtuoso Contact, I will get a timely, helpful response. The network is invaluable for my confidence in what I'm selling for my clients. So you can finish reading the rest. What I really want to impress upon with Katie and Keely, they came to us from a Disney-focused agency. And their clients were actually asking for more. And they realized that if they were going to help their clients transition into trips and experiences beyond Disney and to increase the transaction sizes for themselves, they had to align themselves differently to be able to deliver that. So that's one of the things I love to share about Katie and Keely. So when they first came to us, their transaction sizes were averaging 5K before they transitioned to luxury. And now they're consistently doing $25,000 to $50,000 bookings. In fact, they both will do $100,000 bookings with the same clients, which is what's fascinating to me, that we're booking the Disney only. You'd be amazed at how much those clients can be moved into these types of trip transactions. You just have to be able to present the right opportunity to them. Not all of them will, but some will, because sometimes we sell from our own pockets, or we don't even know what's possible. So how can the clients know it's possible? And you can know it's possible when you transition to align with the right partners, and then you can start telling the story of what's possible. Another important factor here when thinking about your right partners is, who is the agency endorsed by? Gifted Travel Network is endorsed by Forbes Travel Guide. So that's a powerful sort of consumer thing that luxury clients look for. So that's very important as well. So what I want to share right now is some tips from our top producers to provide some inspiration. But I also want to ask you, Steph, if we have any questions now that I've sort of completed the third section.
Sorry, I was on mute. We do. So
Okay.
we have one. Beyond the logo, what do you recommend for headshots, visuals on your
Mhm.
site as well? How do I maintain those visuals on the everyday for social when I'm
Mhm.
not personally flying private jets around?
Very good question. I love it. So first of all, destination boards have libraries of amazing images. Your partners have amazing images, and like libraries of images that are free. So pretty much every tourism board has access to that. And then if you want to have a picture of a private jet or something like that, you can reach out to your partners, and they will share images that you can then repurpose on your website as you build up your library of images. And so that's one example. Another tip I have for you as you transition into selling luxury travel is, luxury is a lifestyle, and the luxury segment loves more lifestyle type images and photos, especially of you. And so that doesn't mean you have to be on a private jet or in the lobby of a Four Seasons. You can just be in the destination. So, like, for example, when I travel to destinations, I'm now kind of in the rhythm of hiring a photographer for an hour. So I recently came back from Amsterdam and used Pics Around. They are a preferred partner with Gifted Travel Network. And I had a photo shoot in Amsterdam and just walking the streets of Amsterdam. And I know a lot of travel advisors will maybe go to a little coffee shop and open their laptop and have a sort of a picture of them, sort of, obviously implying that they're booking something, which probably they are. So that's another example of a lifestyle picture. So the next time you go to a really amazing, recognizable destination like Paris or London, or in my case, Amsterdam, make sure you hire a professional photographer to document that for yourself, that you can then use on your website and social. And if you don't have a big trip like that planned, it's all good. Maybe if you live somewhere where there is even a five-star hotel in your area, you could even contact them and see if you could do a photo shoot in the hotel with permission. I know travel advisors that do that. And even if you don't have access to even that, even if a small town or a non-urban area, rural area, there's always a cute coffee shop or something beautiful in the outdoor setting that you can also get a photo in as well. So lean on your partners for photos, and hire a photographer in destination or even in your town is what I would recommend.
That's a great tip. And we will see if we can find the link for Pics Around and put that in the comments, which also reminds me, if you haven't registered yet and you're watching this recorded, we'll send out a link to all of these resources that we're putting, that Vanessa has been mentioning. So make sure to register. We have another question. If let's see, how do
Let's
you choose a partner for ground transportation? You talked a little bit about some of the other components of a trip.
Okay, so before I answer that question, I did move this slide. Just, I think maybe I'll answer questions while people can read this sort of testimonial. So hopefully you got the one from Robin, but I did advance now. So as I talk, perhaps you can hear from Angela Isherwood. So the question, Steph, was, how do you select a ground transportation? That's the question.
Yeah,
So ground transportation, meaning like private cars and transfers, I assume is what the question is. And
I'm
if that
assuming. Yeah.
if that is what we're assuming correctly, is then I would lean on your host agency and or your consortia, and use the vetted companies that they have as the preferred partner, and or ground transportation, typically you want to pair with the destination management company so that it's all seamless. So that's the answer to that.
And I think that answers your question, D-Ring, about identifying some DMCs to start working with to go through the host and the consortia.
You definitely
Um,
want to be you want to be working with destination management companies that have been vetted and that are preferred with your host and or consortia. And there's a multitude of reasons why you want to do that, which is for a whole other presentation. So I will just leave it at start with the preferred partners that your host and consortia offers.
Perfect. And I think that answers Duro's question. So we are good to go.
All righty. So here we have a testimonial from Angela. Well, hopefully you guys were able to read it as I was answering those questions as well. We also have another testimonial here from Carol McKee as well. Let's see, in all those cases and many more, the people who crave those experiences are not billionaires. They are average people with decent jobs that are willing to spend to get access to what matters to them, to what feeds their soul, to experience things that they cannot get in their everyday lives. So that's a really great example of a premium client that wants a luxury experience. Like there's two different categories too. Should have said this at the beginning, but now's a good time, especially with this top tip from a top producer here. There's the premium client that wants the luxury experience for their travel because they have a special milestone and they want to indulge. But then there's the luxury and the ultra luxe client that is their lifestyle all the time. And those two clients are very different. So you just have, in terms of how you service them and how you have to meet them where they are and the types of experiences that they are looking for. So that's also very important to understand as well when diving into this segment. Up your fees. This is a big one. Set a minimum budget as you transition to luxury and stick to your values and what you know your time is worth. Clients will appreciate your knowledge and expertise more than you know, and confidence goes a long way. You know, many of our top producers have they charge fees. That's common. All of our top producers charge fees. We have a few top producers that have annual retainer fees to the tune of $15,000 to $20,000 per year per client. That's an excellent revenue center for them, which is a nice stable revenue center at the beginning of the year to front load that revenue. And then they've got their commission, of course, coming in throughout the year. That's a great business model. And when you work in that space, you obviously only can take on a certain amount of clients, which is fine because their transaction sizes are larger. So that's one of the business models. This one's great from Stephanie Goldberg Glazer, affectionately known as SGG in our community. So selling luxury is entirely mindset. It is not the mindset of, I want to sell fancy things. It is the mindset of giving people what they want. And most of the time, they don't know what they want. It is up to me to tell them what they want. Well, what they want, yep, and guide them. It is personal. Like we've been talking about, one trip is not the same for all clients. Stephanie was firmly parked in the mass market space when she first came to Gifted Travel Network. She was with a very large mass market host agency, focused. Nothing wrong with that. That was her business model. It served her very well for how she started her business. As she focused on the profitability of her travel business and wanted to grow in this space, it has been so amazing to watch her entire business transform over the last 4 to 5 years into this space. She now gets invited on the top Marriott Stars and Luminous type trips because of her direct hotel bookings. She's a top producer. She's actually listed as Virtuoso's cruise icon. She's in the top 1% of cruise sellers for Virtuoso. And what has changed the most is her mindset from when she started to where she is now. If you talked to her 5 years ago, there was no way she was charging a fee. It was so funny. In fact, we laugh now when she actually helps others charge a fee because she was squarely in the no fee camp. And now it's a complete, total plot twist with her. It's really amazing to see how her business has transformed. Here's a really great slide, Steph. I'm sure this will be like a little eye opener. So if you're just kind of like listening to me in the background, or maybe you're checking your phone right now, and I've been kind of talking for a while and you're like, okay, I kind of got it. I'm not really paying attention. I'm hopefully going to get your attention by saying that because I want you to look at this slide. These are commission payouts. This is earnings that our top producers earned last year. Look at this slide. Look at the potential. The two best ways to make money in this industry are selling luxury and selling groups. Better yet, luxury groups. If you the travel advisors, the common denominator amongst travel advisors that are profitable, that are making an amazing living selling travel, that are totally crushing the odds of what the statistics say is the average of what travel advisors earn, are travel advisors that are focused on luxury and groups, and again, luxury groups. So I love this slide. So that actually brings me to the end. So now I want to open it up for questions again. I'll leave it on this slide. If I've intrigued you, you want to know more about Gifted Travel Network, you're ready to start transitioning your business, not quite sure what that might look like, but know that you need to speak to somebody and potentially make a switch, you can definitely look at us. We'd love to talk to you and learn more about your business and see how we can be of service to you. And really the best way is to just go to our website. We have an application and you schedule a meeting to speak with us. And then you can ask all your questions from there and tell us about what you're looking to build, how you're looking to transition. And then we can see if we can meet you where you are at, because that's really what it's all about in luxury as well. So I'll leave this slide up. Actually, you know what? The next slide has a QR code, a fancy QR code from our marketing team. If you want to scan that, it takes you straight to the application. If you want to submit one to learn a little bit more about how we can support you in your business, I'd love to keep the conversation going. And Heather on the team hosts the calls, and I know she'd love to learn more about you. So I see a question, my dreaded question. I hate that I have to answer this question, which is, do you accept agents in Canada? So as a Canadian, it literally hurts my heart to tell you that at this time, we currently do not accept travel advisors in Canada. We are registered in the US, so it's US-based travel advisors, but please know that that is at the top of my wish list for expanding Gifted Travel Network in the future. That is not on the immediate plans, but certainly something that we'd like to do at some point. So that is the
Would
answer
it
to
make
that question.
sense? Yeah, would it make sense for them to get on your mailing list so that if that's something in the future that
That's a great point, Steph. Thank you for that suggestion. So Marlene, we'd love to get you on our mailing list. Absolutely. And you know what, when you go to the website, you can opt in as well, not just apply, but there's an opt-in for great content. We do a weekly newsletter that shares just really great content and inspiration from our network. So we'd love to have you on that, and you can keep the connection going with us that way. Plus you get some great content every week. So feel free to sign up in that way.
perfect. And on those slides that blew everyone away. So that doesn't include fees, does it, Vanessa?
No, we don't. Fees don't flow through Gifted Travel Network. That's something that our travel advisors process through their own individual merchant account. So we can't know that.
Mm-hmm. And then question on how many, let's see, where did that one go? How many clients do those top earners typically have?
It ranges, it ranges depending on the transaction sizes. I mean, we have some that only take, 20 a year. It just depends on the level of transaction size, and the
Mm-hmm.
type of trip and your level of knowledge. And it's a hard question to answer too, because it's also lifestyle based, because we've got travel advisors that are in a life stage similar to mine, with young kids, that it's ebb and flow for them, but they absolutely aren't going to be taking certain clients that, are going to be traveling during peak times that they want to be with their family. So it's not a one size fits all answer. So it really, comes down to what you want out of your business and then building something to match that.
Mm-hmm. And then do you know how many advisors those top earners have in their business? Is that one person or is that an agency?
That's also varies. So in our top 10, we have an agency that has a team of 8, and our advisor that has the highest retainer fee and the highest sort of average high net worth clients. You'd be surprised to learn that they're completely solo. They don't even have an assistant. That's how they're just themselves. So, I mean, that's their choice, right? They had the business model of lots of advisors underneath them. They had sub agents. They had independent contractors themselves, and then they already did that, been there, done that, And then they decided in this phase of life, they just wanted to focus on their high net worth clients and scale back significantly. And that's just the journey that they're on individually. So that's fascinating to me. Again, that's
Mhm.
what's so fascinating to me about this space, because there is no shortage of business and clients. And so you can literally create whatever business model suits your own individual lifestyle. And that's the thing about Gifted Travel Network. It's not like we have this business model box that we're trying to fit you into. We want to adapt to what you are looking to curate, and we want to support you in that luxury space. But ultimately, it's for you to create, and we want to support you in that.
Perfect. And I know that someone from the GTN team answered this, but in case there's people just listening audio wise, when does the next travel MBA program kick off?
Great question. Our travel MBA is very near and dear to our heart. It's such a special program. So it is geared for new to travel industry, but we actually have quite a few travel advisors that participate and engage and thrive in our travel MBA program, who have actually been selling travel, but they've been in the mass market space, or for whatever reason, maybe they had another job and they weren't totally dedicated to this business full time, and they just haven't been able to get their travel business off the ground the way they wanted it to. We have travel advisors with experience actually join the travel MBA program, and and they still participate in the 12-month program. So we onboard new to industry and experienced advisors that match what I just described, and this is all identified through the interview process. We onboard in cohorts, so 4 times a year. So our next cohort kicks off at the end of April, and it starts with a 3-day in-person event called Jumpstart, where we welcome you here to Mooresville, North Carolina, and welcome to the South. And we have a wonderful program for you where you are engaged with our mentors, you meet preferred partners that come in as well, you meet the team, and then from there the 12 months sort of kicks off with the actual program. But we do have advisors that are signing on now, but the actual program itself won't start until the end of April, because you start with your fellow travel MBAers in that cohort.
And so for people that are watching and recording this, is it every quarter then that like every 3 months then?
It's roughly that rhythm is every
Okay.
3 months. Like the next one, I believe, is August. So
Okay.
obviously, there's a little bit of a longer stretch because of the summer.
Perfect. Well, I think that is all the questions we have. A lot of thank yous, lots of, great webinar, lots to digest. And I know, so Brenda she's transitioning out of a bed and breakfast and brewery owner
Oh,
into
cool.
full-time travel. And this is exactly where she wants to go, luxury and group travel. So
I love that. Brenda, the being a brewer, I'm not saying that properly, a brewery owner. Geez, that's a tongue twister for me, apparently. That's a great space for groups, as you, I'm sure, know. In fact, I would recommend, if you want to continue on with that, but then translate that into your travel business, like there's obviously conferences in that space for other owners of breweries. And we see travel advisors partner with river cruise companies to do, partial charters or just really great groups on river cruises to, Germany, and do like brewery tours. Like that's very profitable. In fact, we paid out one advisor, we paid out several advisors over 100,000 in one commission check, and that was directly because of a group on a river cruise. River cruises are very profitable. So I mean, and the amount of work relative to a whole bunch of like FITs, it's a lot of advisors choose the group route. So
mhm.
continue to use and leverage your brewery business. Go to a national convention of brewery owners, advertise in whatever the trade publication is for your industry, and position yourself as the travel advisor that can work with breweries that have engaged clubs, like wine clubs equivalent, and potentially put together group tours together. That's a very amazing business model.
Very true. Well, lots of love for you in the comments and for GTN, Vanessa. So thank you.
Thank you.
If anyone has any other questions, pop them in. But Vanessa, thank you so much for joining us today. This was so helpful and so inspiring to hear the stories. Like it's really helpful to hear the stories, I think, of actual advisors so people can say, like, wow, that person was against charging fees and now they're making this much money, or
Right,
that person was working with Disney families and they made the leap. So
right.
Fabulous
No
stuff.
shortage of inspiring stories at Gifted Travel Network, that's for sure. And although I put the link to the website and to follow the process for the application, if anybody would like to connect with me directly, the best way to do so is through LinkedIn. That is my preferred social media outlet. So you're welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a private message. I'd love to hear from you. In fact, and Steph, I had a few reach out to me proactively ahead of this webinar to let me know
Oh,
that they were going to
wow.
be on. So that was really cool. So please feel free to connect with me that way. And we look forward to I look forward to hearing from you and hearing your thoughts and takeaways from this presentation, and perhaps welcoming some webinar participants on a Zoom meeting and possibly GTN. Thank you, Steph.
Of course.
Oh,
All
we
right.
had a bit of an
Sorry,
internet
my
blip there at the
internet,
end.
the storm is just terrible here. Um,
Thunderstorm.
we do,
It's all good. We're still here.
yay. Well, we have one last minute question, and that is
Okay.
from Ray Lynn wondering how much the travel MBA costs.
Great question. The travel MBA, the pay in full is just under 10,000, so 9,997. We do offer a payment plan, and relative to the types of commissions that we are paying out for even travel MBAers in their first year, definitely within the next 24 months, and benchmark that against the commissions that we're paying our top producers, it is a very insignificant investment relative to the type of business that we are looking to support you in growing in. So we're happy to keep that conversation going with anybody interested in travel MBA. Again, the best way is to follow that prompt with the QR code. Visit us at giftedtravelnetwork.com and schedule a time through the application process.
Oh, okay. We've got another question. They just keep popping in. This is so fun.
Didn't want to
Okay.
let it end. I'll
Um,
stay.
what are the commission splits for your advisors with Gifted?
Great question. Another good question. So specific too. I'm happy to answer that. So we're unique because we actually are one of the few host agencies that offer a range of commission splits. So we start at 70-30, but we also scale up to 100%, which is again what makes us unique. So those
Mhm.
advisors that are at the top that are they've opted into the top 100% commission model option, they are keeping 100% of their commission. And how that works is it's an annual fee. So excuse me, the annual fee is static. Everybody pays the annual fee. It's a monthly fee for the 100% commission option. But we also have monthly fees with other splits, and that is something that we can dive deeper into, of course, during a conversation with you, especially to see where you're at in your journey and to see what makes sense. But we do offer splits starting at 70-30, and we do scale all the way up to 100.
And just so people know that 100 is something that is relatively rare amongst host agencies. It's not
Right.
something you see very often.
Right.
Um,
And that was really important to us as we started Gifted Travel Network. We are a pure host model, meaning we started as a host agency. We're only a host agency. We don't have a consumer facing brand. We don't sell travel. We literally just exist to support travel advisors. And we want to we want to be the host agency supporting those that are business focused and business minded. And part of that means making decisions to be able to maximize your revenue and maximizing your commission. So offering the 100%, not everybody does that. But that is that is a choice that you get to make for your business, because we want to meet you where you are. It was very important to us to be able to offer. Hopefully that helps. And I think we have another internet blip with the thunderstorm. It's all good.
it is.
I know,
I'm so
Steph. We're
sorry.
doing it though. We're hanging in.
I know.
It's all
I
good.
saw Quincy is like, it's thunderstorming here in Houston. Well, I am just outside of Houston, Quincy, so you know what I'm experiencing here, and the internet is just very in and out. But
We
I
made
think that
it.
is we did, and lots of great questions. Thank you again, Vanessa, for coming on, and thank all of you for joining us this beautiful morning or afternoon, evening if you're watching the recording. And check out the Travel MBA program. You can connect with Vanessa on LinkedIn if you have any questions, and we will hopefully see you all soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.